Hi everybody, welcome to Bookies. I'm Baron. Thanks for clicking on the thumbnail. Let's talk about the sounds of homecoming. And what I mean by that is what sounds tell you that your loved one has arrived at home. And for me, as silly as it is, it's the garage door. I hear the garage door and I know my wife is gonna walk through those doors. And you know, when you think about it kind of philosophically, she doesn't have to do that. She chooses to come home to me. And so that's a choice that she makes. And the sound of the garage door, in a sense, is a reaffirmation of our love. Published on April 8th, 2025, Your Steps on the Stairs by Antonio Munoz Molina explores this issue of reaffirmation as our protagonist awaits the arrival of his wife to their new home in Lisbon, Portugal. He's waiting to hear her footsteps on the stairs. But before I go any further, I'd like to invite you to like the video if you enjoy the content. Subscribe to the channel because when this channel gets monetized, I'm going to give all that money to local libraries and literacy programs to help kids read. And I think that's a really cool thing. And if we can accomplish it together, I'd love that. And so please subscribe if you enjoy the content. All right, let's get back to the book. Your Steps on the Stairs is the tale of a man who goes in advance of his wife to Lisbon, Portugal, where they bought a home, and he's preparing the home for his wife. She stayed behind in New York City because she is a neuroscientist and she has to finish up some of her research on the impact of fear on memory. And so our protagonist, who goes unnamed throughout the novel, prepares the home to make it comfortable. The thing we have to remember when we read this novel is that Lisbon represents a new start. The experience of both the protagonist and his wife Cecilia in New York City was really clouded by their witness of 9/11. And so the horrors of 9/11 kind of tattoo New York City. In Lisbon, Portugal, it's calm, it's peaceful, it's serene. It's a new start for them. And yet, our protagonist is unsettled in a very unfamiliar way. He keeps having flashbacks and reliving the experience of 9/11. He also begins to obsess about this notion of the end of the world. And he starts to think of the end of the world as something that is coming, and that if that's going to happen, Lisbon is a good place to be. He also begins to obsessively read. So there's some obsessive compulsive elements to his experience in Lisbon, and it clouds his mind, where his past becomes his present and his future becomes his past, and it's all muddled together. What we have here is a slow burn of an examination of relationship and reaffirmation in relationship, and the stories that we tell ourselves, the script that you have in your mind of who you are and who you are specifically in relationship. And for this review, I want to focus on the issue of the things we tell ourselves, the things we convince ourselves of in relationship and about ourselves. So I'll go back to the garage door example. Imagine, if you will, and I hate to imagine this, but let's say something happened to my wife and she was out of my life. And let's say that I'm at home and I hear the garage door. And that sound creates a whole panoply of memories and experiences for me. And I start to convince myself that what happened to my wife didn't actually happen. I begin to convince myself that she's coming home and that she is home, because in my mind, I've heard the garage door. That's a story that I would tell myself in order to cloud out the pain of her absence. It's something that was real, but may no longer be. It's a novel about the experience of waiting for your loved one and the memory of what was and what you hope it to be. The conclusion, well, the story is about the wait and not the conclusion. I found out about Your Steps on the Stairs through reading about it in the New York Times. And The one thing I will say after reading several novels that the Times has reviewed is that the Times is very rarely critical of a novel that they review. As a matter of fact, I think they don't review a novel unless they're favorable towards it. And that's fine. I know that about the Times. And, when I purchase a novel that they recommended, I go in with that expectation that there may be some things that they didn't talk about or that perhaps even they've mischaracterized. And here I would say they've mischaracterized the novel. They described it as an unconventional thriller. And I would agree with the unconventional part. It's experiential because the whole novel is about expectation. It's the expectation that his wife is going to arrive in Lisbon after she's finished her research in New York City. So it's unconventional in the sense that there's a lot of internal dialogue in the waiting, internal thought in the waiting. Is it a thriller? Absolutely not. It's not a thriller. Don't be misled by that. It is kind of slow in pace. It's not a lengthy novel, so to me, the slower pace really didn't hold it back. But to be honest, it's not a thriller. It's a novel about expectancy. It's a will she or won't she kind of novel. But as I kind of fell into this excellent translation from the Spanish, my thoughts were the prose is very suitable for the thought of an expectant, hopeful man. And kind of when I got towards the end, I had to question, is this really somebody that has lost their ability for self-reflection and self-examination? Or is he essentially just preferring to live with an expectancy of future happiness? It's the story he tells himself. For me, I enjoyed the novel. And the reason I enjoyed it is because of the internal dialogue and this very experiential novel, this examination of a man who hopes his future is as he wishes it to be. And for me also, I thought the prose was very well written, and kudos to the translator because the Spanish into English really kept the vibrancy of the prose. So I really enjoyed that. I also really enjoyed the conclusion because to be frank, it's a little challenging. Now, on the negative side, this novel isn't gripping. It's not going to hold you with specific critical points in the story that really get you to turn those pages. It's not like that at all. So if you're that type of reader that really needs those plot points to drive you forward, this is not the novel for you. So for me, this novel is really kind of like a 3.25 stars out of 5. It's beautifully written. It's a good literary fiction. It's not great, it's good. And right about now, you'll see a little circle with a picture of me when I was a naval officer in my late 20s. And if you click on that, you can subscribe. I'll also provide a thumbnail to another book review for a novel, which is a literary fiction that I thought, frankly, was better, The Correspondent. And click on that. And if you haven't read that, I highly recommend The Correspondent. With that, everybody, have a great day and God bless.